Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wadcast Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ift. I know you've got a lot of podcasts out there that you can listen to, and you're taking the time to listen to mine. And I want to tell you, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for contacting me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am very grateful for all the amazing responses I'm getting, the appreciation I get. I work very hard putting this together every week, and I'm very grateful that I have you guys listening to the show and liking what I do. I don't know what I really do. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a stand-up comedian that likes to work out, and I get obsessed with everything I do, and so I'm very into all aspects of fitness. Excuse me, whether it be being healthy like that, doesn't sound like I am, whether it be strength, conditioning, nutrition and flexibility and speed and stamina, and I really like it all. So this show might have deviated from the CrossFit world a bit, but that's okay because I still take aspects of it. I think CrossFit's wonderful. I still do it all the time. I try to CrossFit at least twice a week, but I try to bring in all other aspects of fitness too, and I think it can help all of you become a more well-rounded person. I hope you're learning from this show. I hope you laugh at this show. I don't know. I hope it just gives you enjoyment, whatever that is. I don't know. I never really know what I'm it started out with no purpose. It started out as kind of aloof, kind of a joke when I called Armin and said, hey, let's make fun of CrossFit. And it's developed into something completely different. And it keeps growing. It's getting bigger and bigger, and it's great. And we've got amazing sponsors that help us out. And I have to vet all the sponsors because I know you guys trust me that I nerd out on this shit. And so you don't want me pushing anything to you that I wouldn't believe in, or I wouldn't think can help you. Because sometimes, I'll go, oh, that's great, but it might be a vegan product, and I go, that's great for the vegans out there. I'm not going to do it because I'm not one of those fucking weirdos. Just kidding, vegans. Just kidding. I know you're right now. You're ready to turn it off. But I'm not a vegan. I eat a lot of meat. I take a lot of whey protein, and I've chosen my new whey protein company. I used to work with some other companies just out of connections with people or doing research and finding out what I thought was best for me. And lately, I'm really into this company called Xology. And it's the protein that I'm taking now. It's Xology, Xology. And the reason being, it's a bunch of CrossFitters. And CrossFitters are such nerds, and they are so elitist that they go out and try to find the best of everything. And they've got a lot of disposable income, so this is what they do. Well, these guys that started Xology are a bunch of CrossFitters based in San Diego, and they are taking it to the next level. Their protein is grass-fed. It's keto, paleo, all the stuff. Their sweetener is monk fruit. So they're not using anything that's going to spike your insulin level, that's going to make you store fat, but it does taste delicious because it's got some sweetening in it. Now, you can buy it in these big bags, which will give you 20, I think about 20, shakes full, basically. Or you can buy these pods that are amazing. These little pods that you can put into, their shaker. You get their shaker, and then you buy their pods, which is what I have with me. I'm in Las Vegas right now. I've got them because I did travel, and I just keep the shaker in my bag all the time. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going away for 7 days. Well, I do one shake a day, 7 pods, boom, gone. And the best part is I'm not the most environmental person in the world, but I try to be conscious. And one thing I know is Keurigs are the worst thing for the environment. Well, these little pods are compostable. So these aren't bad for the environment, and everyone else should be following their lead. So it's great. You just put the pod in, you add water, shake it, and it mixes the powder inside. And they've got tons of products. Just knowing, they go out there and get the best stuff for you. So they've got the branched chain amino acid products, which are their biggest seller. And, they've got a vegan product. How about that? You want a vegan protein? They got it for you. You weirdos out there. Just kidding. I just love to give you a hard time because I know you're the kind of people that get offended easily. So they've got their pre-workout, BCAAs, grass-fed, WPIs, and vegan proteins. And it's some of the best I've ever come across. So get your hands on this. Go to Xology.co. That's Xology, Xology.co, and use the promo code WODCAST, WODCAST, WODCAST. And you're going to get 15% off your purchase. How good's that? Xology.co, WODCAST. Throw these in your bag and just keep getting bigger and stronger. That's right. So great episode this week. Great episode. I had the pleasure of going over to a guy named Gil Reyes. You might not, if you're a CrossFitter, you might not be familiar with him, but you got to understand, just because somebody's a CrossFit coach doesn't mean they're the best out there in strength and conditioning. There's people out there who've been doing it for years and years and years, who have been working with football programs, baseball programs, basketball programs, whatever it may be, runners that are, they've studied this their entire life and they've got tons and tons of knowledge to give you. This guy in particular, I went over to his compound. I'll call it a compound because it had everything: tennis courts, basketball courts, a secretive gym. But I went to Gil Reyes. Gil was Andre Agassi's, strength and conditioning coach for, I think, here it says from 1989 till Andre retired in 2006. Prior to that, he was the strength and conditioning coach at UNLV, where Andre found him. We talk all about that. What we don't talk about during the show was after the show, Gil showed me around his gym, and I wish I could go redo the show now, knowing what I know, because this guy had some incredible equipment that you won't see anywhere else because he builds it himself. He's got a designer and a welder. He kind of comes up with the concepts himself. They're all patented. And then he has the guy build them. And in his gym, all these like tennis stars from all over the world. And there were some other people there, but they come from all over and they work out with him. Guys that are in strength and conditioning with, top athletes are very injury aware, and that's a lot of what they're doing is trying to prevent injury. Apparently Andre had some injuries and this guy built some machines for him to compensate for his injuries. One of the machines in particular was a change of motion for lateral movement for your abductors. And I'll post the video on our Instagram, and you will see this thing. You can't see the machine. You can just see like basically the arms of the machine. It's like a leg press machine where you get under it, or a calf, where you're doing calf raises. But there's so much more to it because there's variable resistance. And he didn't want anyone to see the machine, but he let me see how it worked, and his other trainer, how she worked with it. Incredible for tennis, incredible for skiing, anything where you do side to side motion, which is practically all sports. This thing was ridiculous, but I could have talked to him I did. I think I stayed for like 4 hours after the show, and we talked about all his machines. He's got this bench press machine that will save you from any kind of injury at all. That I told him, I go, you got to get a hold of Rogue Fitness and have them start selling this thing, because every gym should have one of these. Like, everybody's benching now. Remember when we didn't bench in CrossFit? Well, everybody's benching, and this thing is going to prevent any kind of injury, because it doesn't have that lift off. When you're pulling it off the rack, that kind of, not poor mechanics, but you're in an improper position when you're lifting the weight off the bar, unless you have a spotter. This, you don't need a spotter. It was great. There were so many different machines, so many cool things doing for everything from biceps to, for sport specific training. Incredible. A great episode, really interesting guy. I hope you enjoy it. If you enjoy the show, check out our Instagram. We had to restart our Instagram. Scott kept the Instagram and made it another page, and so I've had to start from square one with the Instagram. And, I post on it every week and I'm trying to build it. I'm not a social media person. I actually think social media is kind of bad for us, but there are good aspects of it and you can learn from it and progress. So, I try to post stuff that either is just making you aware of what's going on with the show, maybe giving you a laugh, or maybe giving you some information, that can help you. So this week I'll post some stuff, relating to that. And you'll see Gil. And I don't even know if I got a video or a picture of Gil. Yeah, I think I did. That's what I'm not good at. I told you. I'm just good at recording and talking shit. So check out our Instagram. It's Wadcast Podcast on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. A lot of stuff goes on Facebook, a lot of comments, a lot of, conversations about the show and about what's going on. And, you can always go to iTunes, rate, review, and comment. That really helps the show. And I really appreciate it. Like, I'm not asking you to I do ask you to donate, but if you can't donate, just give a few seconds, go on there, give us a 5-star review and, review the show because it helps us then in the ratings and more people become aware of the show. That's the whole reason I ask you to do it. It's not for my ego. I don't want you telling me I don't need that shit. I got enough self-loathing going on that you can't bring me out of it. So the reason I do it is to help the ratings so that we can grow the show and make it bigger. And one of our other sponsors you might know is the Myopucks and Leopard Claw, who have been so great to us. Troy Willis over there at Myopucks and Leopard Claw he's a great dude. He's great to the community. Helps tons of athletes. He's got a charity that helps these guys out that are downrange, these military guys, that he gets this stuff to them so they can rehab themselves. He's just an all around wonderful guy, and it's an amazing product. If you listened last week to Gary Rhino, he talks about how important it is to have an electronic muscle stimulator, and it's the best thing to hit. Like, you put this thing on, slap it on as soon as you get an injury because you don't want to swell and you want to release that congestion to your lymphatic system. One good way to deal with that is, pre-workout or pre-anything or pre-Myopucks is get yourself a Leopard Claw and, try to scrape out any of the, bad tissue, any of the, adhesions that go on there. And, you know how we do rolling, we take lacrosse balls, all that. Well, this Leopard Claw is just another step of that. And, so get yourself a Myopucks or Leopard Claw. One good way to get it, donate $5 a month. $5 a month gets you all these episodes. I give them for free, but, you could just go, well, I like it. I appreciate it. It's like $1 an episode. You give $1 an episode practically. You get these wadcasts, and you also get yourself in the running for a Myopucks and a Leopard Claw, which is a total of about $450. So this week, the winner is Lisa Brooks. Congratulations, Lisa. You just got yourself a Myopucks and a Leopard Claw. That'll be sent out to you. You will get it. Take care of yourself. Prevent those injuries, or not prevent them, rehab them, and get yourself totally healthy. I've been doing it a lot. I threw it in my bag, brought it with me, brought my Theragun. I don't mess around anymore. I got to stay healthy. I got a little kid that beats the shit out of me. My daughter is 4. She beats the shit out of me. And I got a little boy on the way, so I'm really scared. So I got to stay healthy. And one way I stay healthy, I buy all my products from Thrive Market and U.S. Wellness Meats. Thrive Market and U.S. Wellness Meats. You can click through on our website, wadcastpodcast.com. Click through and get yourself that. It's really good. My wife was complaining the other day. We didn't do a U.S. Wellness order. And she was like, it costs so much to go to the grocery store, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, it's your fault. All you got to do is go on U.S. Wellness Meats, order. You get the best meat in the world, throw it in your freezer. You have it there, and then you get it out. And I know a lot of you live in butt-fuck towns where you can't get healthy food. I was just in St. Louis. It was practically impossible. And people trying to tell me what's healthy, they're like, there's a Greek place down there. Go get sushi. No, get online, order your food, you idiots, and get yourself some any kind of meat you want. Chicken, pork. They even have fish, grass-fed beef, bison. I don't know if they have elk. They might. It's good stuff. It's great stuff. It's the bacon is the healthiest bacon there is. And I'm not guaranteeing this, but I'm pretty sure about it. These guys really care. So check it out. US Wellness Meats. Order it, keep it in your freezer, thaw it out, and cook it, and you'll be so happy. I've never been unhappy with any of their products ever. And Thrive Market, you can get anything from snacks to cooking oils to the healthy cooking oils, like I'm talking about, like coconut oil and extra virgin olive oil. They've got butter. They've got grass-fed butter. They've got everything at Thrive Market. They've got paleo crackers, paleo cookies, sauces, salad dressings, all the primal stuff. And it's all cheap. So go to Thrive Market. And thank you guys for listening to the show. As always, one of the reasons I do this show is it's kind of a lead generator. And when I say lead generator, I'm out there doing shows. My primary source of income and my passion, I hate using that word, in life is doing stand-up comedy. I love doing stand-up. I do it every fucking day of my life. And right now I'm in Las Vegas at the Comedy Cellar. I'm doing shows every night, 2 shows a night at the Comedy Cellar at the Rio Hotel. It's a fun show. If you know the Comedy Cellar, maybe arguably the best comedy club in the world in New York City. Well, they opened another location out here, and they send all the New York comedians. I'm in LA, but I was a New York comedian. I started there. They send us out here. We do a showcase show. So there's 5 of us on the show. This week, who am I working with this week? Emma Willman, Louis Katz, Leo Flowers, and Mark Cohen. And they're all great. And so if you don't like me, you got 4 other chances. You know, that's what's great about it. So get your tickets, come out. And it's an inexpensive ticket compared to most of the clubs. So when I say it, I honestly believe it's one of the best, if not the best shows you'll see out here. So come out and see us. And next week, I am off. Yes, I am off. Finally. This is my first week off. I cannot believe it. I'm so excited. I'm just going to spend time with my daughter. How about that? And then Memorial Day weekend, I'm off. I am doing one show at the Ice House, the 25th in Pasadena, but that's only, an hour of my life. And then I'm back to my family for I'm off until June 3rd, where I'm back here at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, June 3rd to June 9th. And then June 13th to 16th, I'm at the Punchline in Atlanta. June 13th to 16th, I believe. All these tickets are available at eddyift.com. Then, this is going to get a little crazy. June 21st, I'm at Skankfest in New York City. Just look that up. Google Skankfest. It's a big festival. I'll be doing that. June 22nd, I'm in Mount Holly, New Jersey. June 23rd, I'm in Stone Harbor, New Jersey at the Harbor Square Theater. That's a fun show. June 26th, I'll be at the Empire Casino in Yonkers, New York. June 28th, I'll be at the Valley Forge Casino. What's with me in casinos? I'm not even a gambler. Yeah, I'll be at the Valley Forge Casino June 28th. And then I am in Babyland, because that next week my wife's supposed to have a baby. And then July 18th to 21st. No, 18th to 20th. July 18th to 20th. I'm in Dallas, Texas at Hyenas. Dallas, Texas. 18th to 20th. Give me a CrossFit to go to in Dallas. I think I stayed downtown. So, let me know where to go. July 21st, big show. Hollywood, Comedy Store. The main room, the big giant room in the Comedy Store on July 21st. It's my own show. I'll be headlining that with a whole bunch of my friends. That'll be some of the funniest fuckers you've ever seen. And then, June 25th to 28th, I'll be at Zany's in Chicago. Then I'll be at Funny Bone in Omaha. Then I'll be at the Dead Crow in Wilmington, North Carolina. Then I'll be at Liquids in Boise, Idaho. Then I'll be at Hyenas in Fort Worth, Texas. Then I'll be at the Comedy Store in San Diego. All these dates, eddyift.com. Eddyift.com. EDDIEIFFT.com. I know these are big intros. I apologize. I hope you listen to them. I hope I fast forward through a lot of this shit in other people's podcasts, but I hope you listen. # still listening. And I hope you enjoy this episode. I think that's it. I think I covered everything. Welcome to the Wadcast Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Ift, coming to you from Las Vegas again. I'm here doing these shows at the MGM Grand, and anybody that's been to Las Vegas knows that one night in Las Vegas feels like an eternity. So imagine being there for a week straight. Luckily, I've kind of curtailed the partying, kind of. And I don't do it much, but so I wake up early and I get out and I'm doing lots of interviews while I'm here. And luckily, thanks to a friend who led me on to this, our friend Gary Reyes hooked me up with. We are so lucky today to have this guy as a guest. I probably mentioned all his accolades in the intro before this, but just a couple stand out. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was a strength and conditioning coach for possibly one of, if not the greatest tennis players of all time, Andre Agassi, and also the strength and conditioning coach of a national championship basketball team, the UNLV Running Rebels, and just an honor to have you. Thanks. I'm over here at his facility, which is so interesting and so cool and so secretive. I went to take pictures before the show, and he's like, "No pictures. Nobody can see what's going on in his mecca." So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Gil Reyes. Gil Reyes, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you giving me your time. This place is so cool. I used to drive by this neighborhood all the time because I go mountain biking up in the mountain here. And I would go, that's like the nicest part of Las Vegas right there. Right. I wonder who lives there. Well, now I know.
Eddie, I am very, very honored to meet you and very, very honored to get a chance to sit and visit with you and hopefully make some new friends out there.
Well, it's interesting because tennis is not something we've ever talked about on the show. And I did some research on you and found out that, when you went from a basketball background to tennis, you had no idea about tennis either.
I had never seen a tennis match, either on TV or in person. Literally had never seen a match.
So how did it happen? How'd you meet Andre?
Well, Andre was born and raised in Las Vegas. He's a Las Vegas guy through and through, and I was the head strength and conditioning coach for the UNLV Running Rebels. Jerry Tarkanian was our head coach, and we had Larry Johnson, Stacey Augman, Greg Anthony. That was the year that we were national champions and a great team.
Tim Gergerich was your assistant coach? Tim Gergerich
was the assistant coach, whom I still consider today the greatest coach, my most influential mentor, and I know he's from the area, from the hood back there.
Yeah, I know him from Pittsburgh.
And I idolize that coach. He's a coach's coach. He's a man's man, and I learned more from him than any other coach around whom I've been. And so Coach Gergerich was the guy.
And from my experience in college athletics, seeing the strength and conditioning coaches work hand in hand with the basketball team. I mean, that's a very, very, people don't understand how much basketball players have to be conditioned and strength trained, where some sports, they kind of let them go, and football, basketball, wrestling, hands on. Like that's.
Yes. When you look around where, especially a college program where they're still, they're in the developmental stage, you're getting these guys just out of high school. Uh-huh. So really when you get them as freshmen, they're 17 years old, and yet every now and then you get a Zion Williamson to come along, and obviously he just kind of shatters the template of what the physiques are these days, but they were all playing a stronger game. I think LeBron, of course, is very much a visual of what the game is today because he's so big and so strong and so fast. You look at these guys, whatever their results may or may not be, Russell Westbrook and guys like that, of course, going back to Dwight Howard, David Robinson, the Admiral. Those are some specimens, and they could really do some amazing things. So anymore, the strength coach, where one big, strong, let's say, addition to your team can change your program. Right. Because there's only 5 of them out there.
That's true.
And if one of them comes out there and starts kind of, as we say, laying it down, then you're going to change your program. So thanks to Coach Gergerich, I was more of a process in their development with the players. They would recruit players and kind of talk to me about them, and especially with Larry Johnson. He was the college player of the year, the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and he was a stud, just a big physical stud. So the game of basketball now, certainly at the college level and of course at the pro level, it's physical. So you're not going to get around that anymore. It's out there, and you kind of have to, as we say in Vegas.
So if you want to, as you say in Vegas, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, as you say in Vegas, I call you and I raise you. That's simple.
Well, let me ask you this. So there's no getting around it. You can't just be a natural talent anymore. You got to get in the weight room and really.
Well, you see it more once again when you see these guys, and everybody just kind of is a little bit in awe of Zion Williamson, who's once again, according to the reports, he's 6'7", 285, and he can move. You still need to be able to play. You still need to be able to shoot. You still need to be able to move. But every now and then when you see a guy like that, well, what is the difference then? What is the distinction with a guy like that? Is he so strong? LeBron is so physical, so strong. So a guy like me who's not a basketball player, I can only surmise and let's say listen to the players who come in and say, I have to be explosive. I have to understand what that means when they come to me and say, I have to be explosive. That doesn't necessarily mean be a weightlifter. It just means I have to have a great first step offensively and defensively, because if I'm late on my first step, I'm going to be a poster.
Right.
Someone's going to take it to the paint and just dunk on me, and I'm going to be on somebody's wall in a poster.
So you're working power and speed on a lot of these guys.
Yes.
Were you doing for basketball? Were you doing any Olympic weightlifting?
Some, because that's the equipment we had.
Yeah.
And here's what I learned, Eddie, and I learned it. I'm not going to say that I walk in there prophetically, let's say, suggesting changes. Many basketball players, and when I was at UNLV, there was still, I would say, half and half. They weren't quite convinced yet. But these are long levers. These guys are tall guys. So the lever is different. The imposition of pressure and stress and force on the joints would have to be different. I don't know. So I listened to the guys that were 6'10", 6'9", saying that they hate lifting weights. They hated it. Then you stop and think about it. A squat for them
is a long way to go.
And you have to wonder if you were to really wonder what the skeleton is doing at that time, the joints, the tendons. The bench press is a long way up to the full extension. So I just became more a student. I don't think I've been a teacher of anything. I've just been a student of these guys, and they hated weightlifting. So I had to come up with ways to get them into the weight room. They needed to see the results. And if Olympic lifting was comfortable for them, of course we would do it. But I must say that with our particular team, it wasn't. They didn't like it.
It's a long way to travel with that bar.
Yeah. So we had to figure out different things, which is what we did. And that's kind of what led me to variable resistance. And then when we won the national championship, it was in, of course, the 1990 year, against Duke University. Next thing I know, there's this tennis player comes walking into my gym who was a Running Rebels fan. He was born and raised here. And he said that.
Where was your gym? He came into the college gym?
At UNLV, yes.
Wow.
Came walking into UNLV, and I had never seen a tennis match. But he said the game is changing. And that speaks a lot to Andre Agassi's, I guess, perception, his instincts and his insights. He said, my sport is about to change. And in those days, they were great champions like John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, Mats Wilander, Bjorn Borg, just beautiful games that they played.
Yeah, stylish. But I picture those guys all in short shorts and, a headband.
Headbands, exactly.
And just looked like the kind of guy that sipped tea by the pool.
And they were the champions.
Yeah.
And then Andre said, but we got these dudes coming in now. And he says, I play professional tennis. And they got this dude named Yvonne Lendl, got this dude named Boris Becker. And these are some big guys. So he just wanted to get stronger. So here I go. Now I had to learn about tennis, explosiveness, and movement. And of course, now when you see these guys out there, when you see a guy like Nadal, these guys are big guys who can move. And so I think there's just an evolution going all the way around.
I think it's happened a little bit with the internet. The progressiveness of all sports is everybody's able to see what everyone else is doing and find out more. It was all used to be word of mouth. You heard, I heard he does this, or I heard he does this. Now you can go on and watch basically a reality show of them, and you see their workout all day long, what they're eating, what they're doing, and then everybody's copying it.
Right.
And so everybody's advancing, and we're progressing so quickly.
Yes.
But I've seen it in every sport. I mean, look at Tiger Woods. He changed the sport of golf by going out there and, the guy can bench,
Go Tiger. And another thing that to me, if I may toss this in, which was a revelation to me, baseball. Now, my generation, Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays were studs. They were so big growing up. I said, these guys are studs.
Yeah.
Then you look back at the media guys, you see they were 5'10", 175, 180. Then you look now and you see the McGuires, the Sosas, and Bonds, and I'm mentioning them specifically because whatever the methods were, they made a very strong pronouncement. Power, man. Power is in our game. And however they achieved it, whatever one may or may not think about it, the declaration was on, and it was etched in stone, power in our game. Yeah. And you see them, everybody's so big. You look at a guy like Mike Trout now. I'm such a big fan of Mike Trout because every baseball player with whom I speak, they say he's the dude. He's the dude. He can play. He's the best player in the game. He's big. He's strong. He's fast. He can hit. And my understanding is that he weighs like 240 pounds. I'm just guessing. I think I'm in the ballpark. And yet most everyone says that he's the best player in the game. And these guys, you look at them now, they're so big. And old school guys like me might still have a little bit of a question mark circling over our noggins, but yet you can't argue with the athletes. You have to ask the athletes because they're the ones that are out there, and they're the ones that know what they need or what they feel they lack out there. So basketball, obviously Tiger in golf, and then football has always been, continues to be, that basketball, and then baseball. It's all out there. When people ask me, so many times they say, yeah, but getting strong, getting muscular, that'll make you slow. And I say, have you ever been to a track meet? You ever seen the physiques on those sprinters, men and the women? They say, yeah, but if you lift weights and get strong, it'll make you very stiff and not flexible. I say, have you ever been to a gymnastics meet? Yeah. Those dudes that do the iron cross and do all these, the pommel horse, have you ever seen the physiques on those guys and young ladies? So, Eddie, it's just a new day.
Yeah, it really is.
I think it was a time that you could almost discuss or debate it away. I just think now it's undeniable.
I've talked to a lot of sports, football conditioning guys, and they say a lot of times it's just, once they get to that elite level, they're so athletic and so strong and so good that it's a matter of injury prevention with them because they're not going to get any stronger or faster. But it's just let's get them through the season. They can work out off season. Yeah. But for these other sports, and especially developing, which what you were involved in, I think it's the most important thing in the world. I wish, I lifted weights a little bit in high school and then a little bit in college. We had to, but I look back, like CrossFit was a really good introduction to an all over body, really getting my whole body in shape that I wish I had known about it. If I had started it in high school and learned all the right movement patterns and everything, I would have been 1,000 times better of an athlete. Yeah. And I can't recommend it more because it is the combination of gymnastics, sprinting, and weightlifting. And I had a little bit of the weightlifting, a lot of the sprinting, none of the gymnastics, but calisthenics. You're doing calisthenics as a little kid. Sure. So I see these programs, and right now they've got a CrossFit Kids program that I was always like, this is too early to get these kids inundated with this. And now I see the kids as they're developing. I'm like, they're beasts. Yeah. They're beasts. Yeah. And, as long as I'm a firm believer that you do exercise and like weightlifting and conditioning so that you can play sports. Yeah. You use it for other parts of life. It's not, well said. I'm not a big fan of doing it to do it. Yeah. And so, whatever your methodology might be, whatever it is, to take it to a sport. I saw it, and there's so many guys that I saw coming up through college that they put the time in the gym, and it just exponentially made them better athletes. Yeah. So I can imagine, like, when you took Andre from where he started, I read somewhere, I was looking at your stuff, and I read somewhere that when you started with Andre, he could only bench like 130 pounds. Yeah. And then he got up to what?
He got to he could bench any day of the week, 330. Any day of the week.
Oh my God. I didn't know he was that strong.
And that's when he was number one in the world. So once again, when people might say, yeah, but that's not important for tennis, well, then you'd have to argue that with him. Because keep in mind, with someone like Andre, who he really is, once you get to really know him, there's an intellectual athlete going on in there, because everything with Andre, and I learned this early. He was a teenager when I started with Andre. Okay, tell me what to do, tell me how to do it, but tell me why. Don't just ask me to do something. Right. Tell me why. Once I have learned why, you won't have to tell me again. He said, I'll knock these walls down for you. And for me, that was the greatest teaching experience I've ever had, was learning from Andre. And when he would say to me, the game is changing, many people consider Andre definitely one of the greatest, if not the greatest, returner of serve in the game. And that requires time, timing, and of course the ability to take the ball early, as he was very, very famous for. And he would say, I need to have a stronger base in my hips because I'm not going to back up. He goes, but I don't have time for a big backswing, which to a non-tennis player like me, that is insignificant. Right. But he said, I don't have time to rear my shoulder back, open up with a backswing. I need to take it in front of me early. So it meant a lot to him to get stronger. Then, of course, the ability, as he said, to return serve, you return with your legs. You play tennis with your legs. Right. And Andre was telling me, 75% lower body, 25% upper body, and I'll be ready to play somebody. And so he did. He got stronger. 330 was a very legit bench for Andre.
How about his squat? Was his squat pretty good?
Yeah. And now the only thing with Andre, and most people would know, it's quite public now, he was born with a spondylolisthesis, which is an abnormal spacing in the vertebrae. Mm-hmm. Just a little abnormality in the vertebrae, born with. And so his lower back, he was born with an issue, with a concern there. So we were careful not to do squats to compress the spine. It was just not a comfortable, natural thing for Andre. Very unnatural. And all you had to do was listen to Andre, and he would tell you really, it's kind of like you're going to take a test, but the guy's going to give you the answers. Right. And that's what Andre would say. He says, but here's what I can do that doesn't hurt. So I started coming up with some different forms of equipment where he could, because he prided himself on his leg strength. And people on the tour knew him. Now, keep in mind, Andre was better after the age of 29 than he was before. Right. That's when his training coach actually started learning something. And when I was actually opening up my mind even more than ever, and Andre won more Grand Slams after than he did before. Andre was number one in the world at 33, and that was the oldest man in history to ever be number one in the world until Roger Federer just passed him up this last year.
How old's Roger now?
Roger, I believe, is 37 now. I believe. I hope that's not an insult to Roger, but somewhere around there. So
what was your training before you ended up at UNLV? Where were you that you got into strength training?
I was coaching in Texas. I was living in Texas, and I was a strength coach down there, and I ran a gym down there in Texas. So I was approached. We would compete, and I coached at New Mexico State University also, and we were in the same conference with UNLV. So we would play against them, and I guess just some of the, as you know. But
what led you even up to that? Would you do high school, college?
I just studied it a lot and liked it. I was, once again, I'm in my age. I graduated from University of California at Santa Barbara. Okay. I'm a gaucho, man. And those are the hippie days. Yeah. Man. Those are the hippie days, and I just loved it. And there were no, let's say, accreditations then for kinesiology, even though it's not even an accredited curriculum. I just, when I say I had an aptitude for it, I had a great interest in it. Right. So just learn and listen and ask, and then little by little I found my way down to University of Texas, El Paso, and then New Mexico State University, and next thing you know, I'm at UNLV.
Those are some pretty coveted positions, though. I mean, to being a strength conditioning coach at a college is the premier jobs.
Yes. And you need to be, in my case, because at UNLV, I was the head strength and conditioning coach. That means I was responsible for all sports. Wow. Yeah, that means you have to know and study as much as possible, because you have to speak the language of each sport. And even though in those days, of course, the Running Rebels were the breadwinner at the university, and they were, of course, under the spotlight, the tennis coach, the golf coach, the swimming coach, their athletes are as important to them as our All-American basketball players were to us. So you learn a lot about people.
So it's not just, you're not just coaching, you're doing a lot of administration too, because you're running there's a lot of moving parts there. When you got a lot of teams going and getting them in and out and making sure, trying to keep them not hurt.
Eddie, it's people. And when they come through there, I just believe you have to coach with heart, man. You have to have a heart to really, if you're going to really teach somebody, then teach somebody. You have to understand when they come through there into your weight room as the university strength and conditioning coach, you got to have some heart, man. You got to know that person, he or she, has been dreaming about being here, working for this. Swimmers and divers and all that, they, for some reason, their universe consists of being in the pool like at 5 a.m. and
weirdos.
Yeah. and it means the world to them, and every track athletes, and it's just all the hard work. So I learned a lot about people. I learned if you're going to really be able to help somebody, you got to.
But are you the type of strength coach that I feel like there's two different kinds in, especially when it comes to that high level. There's the kind that is a student of it that just, masters the knowledge and always is on to the newest, most creative, interesting ways of bettering yourself. And then there's the guy who stands over you and spits in your face and goes, bullshit, get that weight up right now. And then it's like the motivating coach that, and I've had both types in my life. I've had the kind who's like, you want to start changing and then I've had the guy who's like throws me back into the sled and goes, you think you're walking away from this? Get back in there. So which one were you?
Well, fortunately for me, I had in high school in Los Angeles, I had a great coach. He had been an All-American player at UCLA, defensive back, and he had played in the NFL. So it took very little for him to get our attention.
What was your sport?
We were football in high school, and we just admired him so much that he had our attention, and we were his audience. He didn't need to ask us more than once to do it. I get it. I know there is plenty of room and space in our athletic universe for both, because you and I both, we've seen them both. I tried to be the other one. I also grew up in Los Angeles in my personal high school coach, but also I grew up in the shadow of John Wooden.
Okay.
And I would read about him.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing guys like at the time Lou Alcindor, who were becoming Kareem Jabbar, and Bill Walton, and people like that would play for Coach Wooden.
Yeah.
And he was the man, and he was such a leader. So I've always tried to emulate, quite unsuccessfully, but I've always tried to speak that way. And just, I do believe that the word is a gift. What you say, you can control. You can control what you say.
Right.
And I'm not sure you can teach discipline if you don't have it. No. But that's just me personally or professionally. So that's what I've tried to be, watching John Wooden in total control, of course, in those days, of Head and Shoulders, the most elite group of college basketball players. I think he won something like 88 games in a row or something like that.
Yeah, I think one of the winningest coaches.
Yeah, like 9 NCAA championships in 11 years, something like that. And he was always in control, not just of his players. He was in control of himself.
Jeez, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been working on that for 40-some years.
Exactly.
But, a lot of guys that listen to this are coaches themselves, of like CrossFit coaches and coach group fitness classes. And, I travel all over, so I'm in a different gym every week, and I see guys that are good at it and guys that are bad at it. And they might have all the knowledge in the world, but they can't control a group of people. And there's a gift to that.
Exactly.
And also, multiple people trying to get them all, you're not like, sometimes you're working on just like an Andre, and you can focus 100% of your attention on them. But when you have 30, 40 people coming through a weight room and you've got to take care of all of them, that's a whole different situation. And to try to make them all excel. So you basically have to set a good example. And that's not an easy. What would you say is harder, working on that one athlete, making them the best in the world, or working on a whole giant group of people trying to make them all?
See, that's a great question, because yes, exactly right. You would think that just levels that the elite athlete, but no, when you're in a room full of athletes, number one, let's say the word control, because it is important, and it has to be a controlled environment to some degree. It's message, messenger. The message might be great, but the messenger might fall a little short. So you're only as good a teacher as what your athletes learn. It's just that simple. Means and measures. You can say, man, I've read every book. I know everything. But if your athletes aren't conveyors of that message, or certainly applicants of your message, you might kind of need to question, okay, well, wait a minute, is there another way? It's tough for all of us to say there's a better way than mine, but we all need to realize there probably is. There's other ways.
It's amazing how much I see sometimes knowledgeable people, and I have good friends, I'm not going to say their names, that are the most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to physiology or nutrition or whatever it is. but they can't convey it.
Yep.
Their cues are bad.
Yep.
Their the way they communicate with people, and just in life, I see it. Being a comedian, every night I go to a different audience, and their level of intelligence, depending on where you are, or, you know, sometimes I'm performing in an Ivy League school, sometimes I'm performing for a bunch of miners out in the middle of the desert in Australia, and there's going to be different levels of intellect, and I pretty much only have so much material, but I have to deliver it in a different way. And I remember my dad was in sales when I was a kid, and he said, or still is, and he's a very good salesman, and he said, you got to be a chameleon. He said, for people to trust you, you have to speak their language.
Yeah, well said.
And if you can only speak one language, you're going to miss out on a giant, extensive group of people. So you better figure out how to talk to everyone. Like my dad's a big firm believer in the public school system. He said, you know, private schools, you only learn to talk to people of that level. When you go into the public schools, you learn to talk to everyone.
That's interesting.
And I was a public school kid my whole life. And, I think it's helped me with comedy, and I can see that with coaches a lot of times where I'm like, you're missing, you know, this is going over everyone's head. Yeah. Like I just watched you give, you know, some instruction here to one of your athletes, and it was great because, you know, sometimes they don't know why they're doing it, but they
trust.
Yes. And that's the best coaches, where we say it all the time in this business that so often everybody wants the newest, best thing and blah, blah, blah. And they don't understand why they're not. And it's like, because you haven't just put your trust in one coach and said, make me a better athlete. Like, I see people jump from coach to coach to coach a lot. And it's like dating. You know, like
that happens a lot in tennis.
You start dating a whole bunch of different chicks, and all of a sudden, it's just going to become. You're going to find something wrong with all of them. Exactly, you know, and you're never going to settle down. You're never going to create that family. But it's finally when you put that trust in one person, you go, "Let's work together. Let's make this thing." So, I'm dying to know. I saw one of the things is that you used to make Andre run this 340-yard hill. What do you call it? Magic Mountain?
Magic Mountain, publicly, and much worse in just the privacy of us two being on there. The language grew quite rough when he was referring to that mountain. But Magic Mountain is the family-friendly term for it, yes. And and it's...
I want to know off air what it's called.
And it's right up here, not far from where we are now. Where we are now.
Is it a secret thing? Like you don't tell anyone where it is?
Well, at the time, this, as you know, now in this community, it's a secluded community, and it was so. In those days, of course, when he really made his move. Now, keep in mind what a great story. You know, we talk about, and once again, I'm not into comparisons because I don't know enough to make any comparisons. But Andre's resurgence, we really did, Eddie. We went from number 1 to number 141 back to number 1.
Yeah, well, anybody that's read Andre's book knows that guy's had a struggle. He's had some high highs and some low lows.
And I truly believed that people connected then and still do with Andre because it was such an imperfect journey.
Sure.
So imperfect. So for the rest of us who are not in the elite stratosphere that these guys are as athletes, Andre and Tiger and stuff like that, every now and then their humanness connects with ours, right? And so he struggled. But man, he would come in, Eddie, and right here where you are now, this is the gym. Here we go. He launched a resurgence back to number 1 in the world, and he just went on a tear. And it's not like I would say, okay, you got to come in and work out. We're going to do this and that. I promise you. He would come in and he would just stand here and looking right at me and say, let's go. I'm ready.
Wow.
And there were times here in Las Vegas in the summer, 115 degrees outside, and he'd go run the mountain, and he would be in here for 2 hours in the gym, just roasting his legs, and then say, you ready?
So explain this mountain.
Well, it's at a 16-degree grade, which is when you're in it.
That's pretty steep.
Exactly.
People don't realize that.
Yeah, exactly. And it is 340 yards long. And at the time, it's
almost a quarter mile.
Yeah. And it's in a secluded community here.
The quarter mile is one of the worst events in track and field.
Is it a sprint? Is it not a sprint?
It's a sprint, and it's the worst sprint of your entire life. And you have him running it at 16 degrees.
Yeah. Ooh. And he would come in here and work. many times we would be in here, and keep in mind, this is right before, it's the summer before he won the gold medal at the Olympics. That year, the Olympics were in Atlanta. And of course, you know one thing, Olympics are in the summer. You know it's going to be hot. You know it's going to be humid in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So you'd better be ready. But this was not me teaching this to Andre. This was Andre teaching this to me, his trainer, saying, here's what's going to happen. We're going to show up. Here's what it's going to be. First round, second round, the pressure is going to be off the charts because I'm in America. I'm an American player. The pressure is going to be off the charts. I'm going to be like anybody else in there. I'm going to look around, see all the American flags. I need to be ready, more ready than ever. And everything he had, as we say, plan your work your plan. Andre had that planned completely, and we would do the work in here. We would go outside and run the hill so hot. And I was struggling up there, and I was just watching him, and it was hot.
Plan your work your plan.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because we just talked about why, in the last episode, we were talking about why, who was it? Was the best coach or whatever. I was talking to Tommy Hackenbrook, who played for Utah under Urban Meyer, and I said, why was Urban Meyer so great? Yeah. And he said, preparation.
Yeah.
And it's to all walks of life. Anything you're doing from your workouts to your life and everything. I know it. My whole life has been a mess of not preparing. I show up and I go, well, what are we doing now? Let's just do this.
Right.
And preparation is everything. So I like that saying, plan your work your plan.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna use that from now on.
Please do. Absolutely.
Thank you, Gil, for that one.
We lived by that. Yes.
Yeah. So he would come out here. Mm-hmm. This is preparation for the Olympics.
Yes.
And
here we go. He would come out every single day, anticipating, pretty much calling a shot. Once again, we were big on that. I didn't speak English till I was 12, so I'm one of those individuals. My mind works great with visuals. Give me reminders, because my retentive or comprehensive skills are still quite lacking, but give me visuals, and I'm good with that. And he would say, when I arrive in Atlanta for the Olympics, because keep in mind now, he says, everybody trains every 4 years. It's your one shot. It's your shot. And if we don't win, it's not going to be because we're not prepared.
Yeah.
And he would say, it's like shooting pool. He says, you don't get to just hit the balls, and if they go in, you win. You got to call the shot.
Right.
He says, as a matter of fact, if it goes in where you didn't say it was going to go, you actually lose if it's the 8 ball. He says, I'm calling my shot. This is how ready I'm going to be. This is what I need to be prepared for. This type of match, every match, the players that are going to be there, the type of game they play.
So how many times are you making them run up this hill?
Well, the most he ever did, which is, picture how tough that is, was 14.
14?
Yeah, that's a lot. Oh. That's a lot.
And you're trying to get them to sprint it.
And we would count backwards, Eddie. In other words, we didn't want to start there and then just break him down and just wonder if he was doing too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do too much. So we would always count backwards. We would say, when are we leaving? For example, he won the Australian Open. So hot, right? Every year you see tennis players, they call the heat rule in Australia. They're going to retire because it's too hot. It just is. He won that thing 4 times. Wow. To show you how prepared he was. So we would count backwards. He would say to me, we're leaving for Melbourne, Australia on, let's say, January 1st. So on December 31st, this is what my numbers need to be. Makes it a beautiful. If, let's say, we were at those numbers.
When you say numbers, like all his weights and everything that he was doing?
Weights and time and how many times up the hill and what his reps were, his weight, everything.
Wow.
That's how organized and prepared he was. And if you hit it too soon, of course, the obvious answer is, well, then just keep going. Really? Or do you keep going to the point where now it turns into the negative, where now you've overtrained him?
Nobody talks about, too many people don't understand.
They don't understand.
The peaking and overtraining. Yeah.
And overtraining is such a huge mistake.
Yeah.
It was a preventable mistake.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but my nightmares were, that one was always on me. If he's overtrained, that's on me. So I just needed to be a student of him as well. And so he would come in, and whatever the numbers were, if we hit it, we usually hit it pretty much right on schedule, thanks to him. But if we hit it a few days early, we're good, man. We're good. And he'd say, we ready? I'd say, Andre, you're so ready. Let's go. Let's go. Tell the pilot to step on the gas, man, because get us there quickly, because we're ready.
14 times up that hill. So I'm just trying to equate that. It's so funny with how much in strength and conditioning now, there's so much equipment and, nutrition and everything. But sometimes all you need is just a hill to run up and push yourself. We did the same thing in track. My first day at track practice, the coach said, going to this big university, and he said, meet us at Flagstaff Hill. And I remembered Flagstaff Hill from high school. Yeah. We would go watch films there. And you'd sit on this big grass hill, and I'm like, why are we going to Flagstaff Hill? We have this stadium. Yeah. We have an indoor track. We have rubber bands to do this, and weights, and I was like, I came here for all the equipment and everything. And he's like, meet us at this hill. Yeah,
you said this is not going to end well.
And it was like, I forget I think it was like 2 weeks before school started. So I get there. And, the team's just standing there, and everybody's just in shorts and T-shirts and shoes. And he's like, all right, we're going to do 4 long ones, 4 short ones. And I went, 4 short.
Like what?
And he's like, go. And everybody just starts sprinting up this hill. And I was like, oh no. Yeah. Like this is, and, he said, I'll see you here tomorrow. Wow. And I went, what? And then we went into the track, and then it was like every other day we were on that hill, and I ran that hill so many times. Wow. And, it was just long ones and short ones. And the long ones were probably, 300 meters or so. And the short ones were probably about 150. And, it was just bounce back and forth. So, I think everybody underestimates how good. Yeah. If you want to push your body, run up a hill. Yeah,
that's right. Because there's an awful lot of mental going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talking to yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. I still run a lot, and I run these mountains back by my hill, and there's so much. Your quitting point, you will never find more, I think, than in maybe a leg squat or a hill run. Yeah. I think those two are where that's like the mind quits before the body quits.
Right now, Eddie, as soon as you use that word quit, picture how much that reverberated through all of the, let's say, the airwaves, that word, what it means to an athlete. Quit. Yeah. The nightmare of it, the tragedy of it, the fear of it. Quit. And obviously, even as you said, your quitting point, it even gave me a little chill of saying, boy, what a horrible feeling that is to really feel, is. You know what, I think I'm about to quit.
Oh, it's the worst. It might be the worst feeling in the world. Yeah, and it's just, I'll go out for like a 2-mile run, and I'll say, I'm going to run it this fast. Yeah. And then I'll get on this hill where I'm going too fast and my heart rate's too high, and my body just is going, you can't do this. And I'm like, I can't quit. I can't quit. And, listening to, I don't know if you've ever heard David Goggins, who's on Joe Rogan's podcast a lot, and he's this Navy SEAL that runs these ultra marathons. And he talks about quitting, and he did quit a lot. But he's also pushed through the quit to the other side where he doesn't quit at all now. Yeah. And it's an analogy for life. I mean, life's all about that. When are you going to quit? When are you going to keep going? Mm-hmm. I think it's so funny that like here's one of the greatest athletes of all time, and you've got him out here on this hill, and it's just that's where the push is. That's where because there's so many guys that think they need everything. And it's like, no, you just need mind over matter kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And when we'd show up to Australia, once again, we call that the no excuses slam because it's the first one of the year. Yeah. Wherever you've been, there's no tennis going on every now and then because they have the end of the year, what they call the Masters Cup at the end of the year. But all of December, pretty much the tennis world is off. So either you did your homework or didn't. So when you arrive in Melbourne, that's a clean slate. Everyone's been off, and that's when you kind of know who's more ready or who is not.
This hill that he was running, is it a dirt hill or is it a...
It was not paved, but it had been, fortunately, it had been graded and leveled.
Right.
I would not as exciting or let's say Spartan as that might sound to make him run up some really rough terrain. Yeah, it was just his ankles and knees.
Yeah, you don't need that.
I needed to be responsible. Yeah. So it was graded so that it was smooth enough, but it was not paved.
And did you time them on these? Did you time him on them?
No. And I kind of refused to. He wanted to because it was, once again, we were big on means and measures. How will I know if I'm getting better?
Right.
But I said, you'll know. You'll know. Just because when you get an athlete like Andre, he is who he is and who he became because it mattered and because he was going to give you his all.
So what would be a typical day of training with Andre?
In the gym, at least 2 hours, because once again, there's the old conventional template of leg day, upper body day, every other day, alternate day, split routines. Those routines have been around forever.
Right.
When you only have a few days and you're in town, you already know one thing. Let's say if I'm going to do my legs, which I know, don't do the legs on consecutive days. Mm-hmm. But if you're only in town for 8 days, that means already you can count on 4 days of legs.
Okay.
Because that's all you're going to do.
Right.
Andre would come and say, I need to go again. My legs feel really good.
Really?
Yeah. And so I had a tough decision because, as they say, lo and behold, there he comes. He was actually stronger the next day and the next day. So I had to learn in short term. Long term, we all know kind of what leads once again to that dreaded overtraining, or you just kind of broke. You know, Eddie, I learned from Andre as well. When you're training, are you building the body up or are you beating the body up? Because they look the same.
Interesting.
If you were to walk by a gym, they're going to look the same. But it's very possible that what looks like you're building it up is actually beating it up. Because now once the cumulative effect of it, and I learned that from Andre, that he says, I'll let you know. My body will tell me, because then the paper that it's written on is meaningless. So I'll let you know. And Andre would come and say, and if we were scheduled to do legs that day, and he would say, not feeling it today, Gil, not feeling it. It's a good day to give my legs. And once again, he has earned that trust because he's not a dude trying to get out of working out.
Right.
He's a dude that's knocking your doors down.
See, if that was me, you would just know I was being a pussy. Because I was the worst. Every day I'd say my legs aren't feeling it.
No, so it's one of those things where there is such a thing as now it's instinctive. And then once again, in this case, I really consider it most instructional to listen to the athlete.
Hold on 1 second. I want to change battery so I don't lose this, because this is like a great conversation. 1 second. I'm going to have to do it. Hate to break away from this episode, but I want to talk to you about something that is really helping improve my life, and that's Kettlebell Kitchen. I try to eat healthy breakfast every day, and my wife makes me an amazing dinner every night. Problem is, middle of the day, I run into a problem where I don't have time for lunch, and I snack, and I start eating crap. I eat good snacks, but I eat a lot of them. And I'll start overdosing on sugar. Like I'll get dark chocolate, and I'll eat a lot of nuts, too many nuts and stuff like that, when I should have a meal, but I don't have time to cook. Well, now thanks to Kettlebell Kitchen, I have meals right in the refrigerator made for me. And Kettlebell Kitchen's a meal delivery service, and they believe in fueling the body with high-quality, nutrient-dense foods to help you perform your best. Once you get these, you open up, you look right inside, and you're like, okay, I get it. They've got it all. You know, it's just like the best vegetables. You'll see like mixed greens or sweet potatoes or whatever it is. I don't care what you're doing. You're trying to increase your protein. You want to start getting, faster, stronger in the gym. These guys will make it happen. Their meals are designed by nutritionists. They're prepared by chefs, and they're conveniently delivered. So you can spend more time in the gym. You're going to gym, work, whatever you do with your kids, you do that, and less time in the kitchen, because it takes a long time to make food. So head over to kettlebellkitchen.com. It's so easy. They come in these little cardboard boxes, like containers. They come to your place right on your front doorstep. You take the ice out, you put it in your refrigerator, and then you just throw it in the microwave, and boom, you have a good meal. So head over to kettlebellkitchen.com. Use the code WODCAST. You're going to get $25 off your first 2 orders of $50 or more. That's $25 off your first 2 orders of $50 or more. And I just had a chicken pesto that was incredible. The General Tso's chicken is amazing. amazing. And then all of my favorites, the bison sliders. So I think you can order, like pick, it's just go to their website, kettlebellkitchen.com, $25 off by putting in Wadcast. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop the show for a second. I want to talk to you about something that is a game changer in my rehab, my life, everything. I have started using a CBD product, and a lot of people that put the brakes on there. What do you mean CBD? Because people always equate it with marijuana or whatever it is. But I don't know if you know this, but CBD comes from a lot of things. It can come from broccoli, kale, but it comes most often from hemp. And it is, I use a product from Sagely Naturals. Sagely Naturals is, they make amazing products, and the good thing about it is there's no THC. So if you're one of these people who's like, I don't want to get high, you're not going to get high. It has no psychoactive effects at all. It's CBD. They just extract it from the hemp plant, and it's quality stuff. Like these guys, their products have no parabens, no synthetic fragrances, no artificial colors, no dyes, no sulfates. One time I heard, don't put anything on your face that you wouldn't put in your mouth. Don't put anything on your body. When it comes to like my soap, my sunscreen, my shaving cream, my deodorant, everything I put on, I have to make sure it's all natural. I just don't believe in putting chemicals and crap on my body or in my body. So, this is one of those things that I believe in. I think it's safe. I think it's, and I think it's really, really good for you. They've got everything from lotions, sprays, essential oils, and supplements. I had a friend start me on it. He's like, just try it. Just do it. Just put it on. And I put it on, So the one that I like a lot is the relief and recovery cream. So after a workout, throw this stuff on, and it's going to combat temporary occasional discomfort. So, you want to feel good. Try this stuff out. Just give it a try. Let me know what you think. And we're not only going to get it to you through here, but we're going to get it to you with a discount. How about that? Go to Sagely Naturals. Sagely Naturals. This is what's helping me out. Sagely, Sagely Naturals. Sagely Naturals. And they're going to give you 20% off your first order. Okay? 20% off sagelynaturals.com/wadcast. sagelynaturals.com/wadcast. There's a reason you keep hearing about CBD oil and CBD products. So, check them out. Sagely Naturals, you're going to get 20% off if you use the Wadcast. sagelynaturals.com/wadcast. sagelynaturals.com/wadcast. Sorry for that interruption. I was just worried the batteries are going to go out and we'd lose the whole show, and then it would be the worst thing ever to be like, "Hey, Gil, thanks for our conversation. It was great, but we didn't. No one's ever going to hear it." I've had a few of those. I've been doing this about 10 years, and I've had probably like 2 of those that have never. No one's ever. One was with my buddy Hunter McIntyre, who is he's one of the top Spartan Tough Mudder, if not the top guy in the world. And it was the funniest thing ever. We made fun of each other for an hour, just yelling at each other. It was the funniest episode I've ever done. And then I looked down, and I went, we haven't been recording.
Yeah, that's the proverbial thanks for nothing.
So we were going back. I wanted to talk to you about, you were saying how Andre, basically knew how he felt in your workout days. You'd have so many days when he'd come back from a tournament to get him in shape for the next tournament.
Sure. And if you're winning in, let's say, the professional tennis tour, there's obviously the great reward is you're winning, but there's a little bit of a punishment to that is that you're not home very much.
Right.
If you're winning, you're still gone.
Yeah.
The only time you kind of get to come home early for the most part is you just lost early. So let's say a Grand Slam is 2 weeks.
Okay, I see.
And if you lose in the first round, you got nothing to do for those 2 weeks. So you better probably get home and train. And if you're in Europe, you have to ask yourself, well, do I want to go back and then come back next week again for the next tournament?
Did you travel with them a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so everything comes into that one component of the communication between the coach and the athlete. And I learned more from Andre than what I taught him. The results were great, but when in a case like Andre's, he was going to do the work. He just wanted to make sure there was that, let's say, covenant, that particular foundation and institution of the plan.
So you said you'd be in the gym. He'd do like 2 hours in the weight room.
Yeah.
And you're hitting every body part, or you're doing one day legs, one day upper body?
Preferably split the routine.
Okay.
But sometimes you're only going to be in town for 5 days because you got to get back to the next tournament. You're never the home team in tennis when you think about it, other than maybe one time a year if you're lucky. The rest of the time, you know one thing. Next week, you're not going to be here.
Right.
The next tournament is not going to be here.
Right.
If it's a Grand Slam, it's 2 weeks. So you know you're not going to be here next week or 2 weeks from now. You know that. So you're never on your own terms.
Yeah, that's
so
tough.
that's why the institution of the plan has to be a carryover, and it has to be interchangeable to travel.
Yeah, that's hard for me, traveling all the time when I'm in a different town every week, and it's hard to have a program because I walk into a CrossFit gym and they're like, here's what we're doing today. And I'm like, oh, my legs kill from yesterday. Yeah. So I have to figure out how to get on a program and be able to go into a gym and just stick to it, especially I'm doing some crazy shit coming up. But I wanted to get to, so you do like a tennis player, you're doing a lot of rotation stuff, right? Because he's a lot of lateral movement, a lot of rotation, a lot of flexibility.
Yes.
Is he doing high weights at all? Is he doing 1 rep maxes?
With Andre, yes.
Wow.
With Andre, he just needed to know. Yeah. Once again, the means and measures. He needed to know that he was feeling strong. And keep in mind, these weren't frivolous, attitudes. He was number 1 in the world at the time. And he would go on these tears that, man, he just was winning.
Was he secretive about his training program? He didn't want anyone to know what he was doing?
No, he did not.
It seems like a lot of these guys are like that.
And I don't blame him. Yeah. When I see that in effect now, I just grin and nod my head and say, I see that, man. Yeah. I understand. They just don't.
So what were some of his benchmarks? What did he want to see metrics in, like bench press?
Well, because let's say, for example, his return to serve.
Right.
And just wanted to take the ball early. Not just physically, but mentally. Andre liked feeling strong. Mm-hmm. He just liked it.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah, and once again, it's not one of those things where you say, "Well, that was dumb." It's tough to tell the number 1 player in the world that he's wrong because the result is he went out there and felt really good. So I listened to him a lot. There were times, for example, if you're going to go play the French Open, you know one thing. Probably for those 2 weeks, you're going to see most of your shots are going to be from the waist up because they put topspin on the ball. They're coming up high with the topspin. It bites into the clay and just kind of shoots up into their topspin. And so you got to be really ready with your shoulders, but your legs better be ready because you're playing on clay. Right. And it's tough and the points are long. So it's very physical.
The clay because you're sliding?
And the traction is much different, and that slows down the ball. Therefore, what would ordinarily be a winner on hard court is just another rally shot on clay. So if you would have, let's say, 1 point in tennis that was like maybe 3 or 4 shots, and the ball was just too good, it's a winner. Usually on clay, you get 8, 10, 12, 14 shots per point just because the clay is slowing the ball down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you know you're going to work longer.
A lot more reps.
You just know it. You know.
So when you're preparing for like a clay tournament, are you doing a lot more reps?
Yes.
So you're going high rep?
Yes, and then he has to know that his legs are good to go because as we know in tennis, in the slams, it's best of 5 for the men, best of 5 sets. And so your match might go out there. You might win it in three sets, and you might be out of there in an hour and 40 minutes, and that's pretty good. Or you might be out there 5 sets, and you're out there for 5 hours. And of course, as we know, there are no timeouts.
5 hours.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
5 hours, start, stop.
Yep.
So.
And then you have
so for his conditioning, you are doing interval training. You're not doing you're not going, hey, Andre, go run 10K today.
Yeah. And here's the tough thing. What we need to know as well, but wait a minute, when? Because are you now just combining or accumulating all the work here with the work he's doing on the court? Are you possibly the reason that this guy might be overtraining? Mm-hmm. You say, I have to work hard to prepare. Well, then you have to look and see what he's doing on the practice court. Mm-hmm. Because then if all you're doing is arbitrarily or blindly having him do a, let's say, pre-designated set of either reps, of times or whatever, and not really taking into account that he just was on the practice court for 3 hours, then unfortunately you're running him headfirst into the wall. So he has to be fresh. Keep in mind, when he shows up at the tournament, he has to be ready to play.
Right.
And sometimes these guys are tired when they show up to the tournament.
Yeah.
From all the pre-tournament training.
Yeah.
They're tired.
Yeah.
And now they got to go out there and actually compete.
Flying on a plane, all that, staying in a different hotel room.
Yep. And you've been practicing with your team. You get out there, the guy across the net from you has pretty hostile intentions.
Yeah.
He wants to get you out of there. He wants to send you back home. And so nothing is on your terms. These guys out there, if they can make you, if they can get in your head, if they know that there's something uncomfortable for you, get ready for you're going to get it by the truckload, all those things. So you have to know, you have to have learned enough by and about and from your student, your athlete, to know when not to overdo it.
It's funny because the whole definition of CrossFit and fitness and what they try to, their methodology is, it gives you a combination of speed, strength, power, endurance, all of these things. And it sounds like tennis, that's kind of what you need because you're going for these long days, possibly being on the court for 5 hours. Mm-hmm. It's start stop a lot, and it's wear and tear on the muscles. Mm-hmm. So I didn't, you're talking about the shoulders. I'm realizing how much is going into that swing and pretty much, their backhand they're using, it's very one-sided, isn't it?
Oh, they to me, tennis players are amongst maybe golfers, and they're also, I don't know, maybe baseball pitchers, but they're amongst the most one-sided anatomies roaming the earth.
Does that create a lot of injuries because of the asymmetry?
Absolutely. It's an instability. It's a muscle imbalance.
Yeah.
You are a walking muscle imbalance. Yeah. So quality of life later on, if you stand behind some of these professional tennis players, now keep in mind, at this level of tennis, they've been playing since they were 4 or 5.
Right.
Just picture that.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time they get to us, let's say to start a pro tour, let's say they're just finishing college or just high school.
And you still have a lot of tennis players coming through here right now.
Yes. They're already 15-year veterans, and they haven't even started the tough part.
Oh, geez.
15-year veterans. And to get to this level, it's not an easy road. To get to this level, that means an awful lot of tennis.
What is it about that sport? You might know this being so close that like other sports, parents, my dad shoved me in football when I was 7, hoping I'd be a pro football player someday. Yeah. I let him down. But there's a lot of sports where people do push their kids in young, but tennis is one of those where it is this like, you start at that young age and you're in. Like, is it the parents just are obsessed with the sport, or is it that that's what it takes, or that the love of the game?
I've seen so much of it by now. We read the stories, the overbearing parent. We see it. You know what? I understand them. I understand the parent. That's their child.
Yeah.
And you're not really home. You're not the home team. You're sending your child up to get, for the most part. Now, Richard Williams was a great exception with his daughters, with Venus and Serena, because he didn't send them out to the, let's say, the juniors tennis universe for the most part. They pretty much grew up at home, getting better and better and becoming obviously legends.
Yeah.
But for the most part, your kid at 12 is traveling and sometimes playing an international schedule. So, yeah, and you have to get really good, because you always wonder, the other 10-year-olds, they're playing all the time.
Yeah.
And you just kind of wonder. Now, I happen to have my own, let's say, particular perspectives as a parent, but I also understand them. I'm not sure that I agree with the way they kind of really, I think, overdo it, but I also can understand why. And that's your kid. Does the kid love the sport, or there you go?
That's what I'm worried about, because I think the kids that eventually become great are the ones that love it so much that they don't want to. You've got Tiger Woods and probably Andre, these people that have been pushed.
Yeah.
And there's that whole theory, the Chinese mother, that book about the mother that pushed her kids because she said the Chinese theory of you push your kids because once they get good at it, they're going to love it because they're good at it. No one wants to learn how to play piano, but once they play piano, they love it. You know, you teach your kid to play guitar, he's going to hate it when he's a little kid, but when he's backstage at Madison Square Garden, with groupies all around him, he's going to be like, "Thanks, Dad. Thanks for forcing this."
Good point.
So, as a parent myself, it's hard at that point of going, no, like you're not going to do this, or you're going to do this, and you're not going to quit. You're going to stay. I read somewhere once that said, just find what the kid likes, and then never let them quit. But you have to find what don't force them to do anything they don't want to do. But once they pick something, you go, you're in for the long haul. You're going to commit, and you're going to finish this. And that's kind of how I do it with my daughter, because look, I surf every day. I'd love for my daughter to be a surfer and come with me every day. But she cold water, she doesn't want to. So I don't push her, But if she says, "Dad, I want to surf, and I want to surf competitively," I'm going to go, "All right, well, this is the beginning of the season. This is the end of the season. You're going to do everything to be the best you can be." But tennis is one of those sports. I'm trying to think. Swimming's a lot like it too. Swimming, tennis, I don't see it. Basketball's more of that like fun thing that the guys just love it and want to be on the court all day long. Baseball, they love it. It's a game. But tennis and swimming,
that's well said.
Tennis and swimming are like,
that's really well said.
There's this like mentality of like, you get to practice and you play and you play and you play and you're going to be the best.
And when you see what these people can do when you just even think of the physics or the engineering or the actual dynamics at play of taking a tennis ball coming at you on a serve, maybe 130 miles an hour, and you're saying, "I'm going to hit this and put it right exactly over here," it's just tough to have that without years and years of very mechanical instinct or instinctive mechanics, because you have to engineer that ball. You have to get it back over that
it's
net.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Any paddle sport to me is ridiculous.
Yeah.
From racquetball to ping pong.
Sure.
I've only played tennis in gym class in high school, and people said, "Were you any good at tennis?" And I go, "I hit a home run every time."
There you go.
Every time the ball would come and I was over the fence.
Yeah, that's 90% of us on this earth. That's 90% of us.
It's a hard,
the other 10,
hard
they
sport.
can put that ball where they want it to go. So that's when I say there's probably something understandable about the push in this game, because it is so the reaction, the reflexes. You have to wonder as parents.
The hand-eye coordination. Everything.
You have to wonder the cost. You have to wonder.
It's like baseball. It's like being a batter and going to bat like a couple hundred times a game.
Hitting a round ball with a round bat coming at you just under 100 miles an hour.
It's crazy. It's crazy. We had Serena Williams, trainer, on here, and he said that he thought she was maybe the greatest athlete he'd ever worked with, and he works with NFL quarterbacks, you name it. He works with Nike, and he said there's no one like her in the world.
Just amazing. And you can't, when you start thinking of her, you have to start with the word amazing. Amazing, and then just go from there. Champion, and then go from there.
My brother-in-law played doubles tennis with John Eisman. That was his partner in high school, and he said he loves to poke, and he's like, she couldn't beat the top 100 men in the world. I'm like, I don't know about that.
That's.
So I never finished. I want to know. So he'd do 2 hours in the weight room, and then would you run the hill?
Yes, but see, keep in mind, you also have to allow for 2 hours or 3 hours on the tennis court.
Okay, so he's doing two.
Because he has to practice.
Okay,
he has to practice his craft.
So he's doing weights the same day he's doing tennis practice.
And when it's Andre, because he's going to tell you what he feels and what
where did he train out here? Did he have his own like personal court in his like property?
Right out here.
Okay,
I'll show it to you in a bit, but it's literally right next door here.
Okay.
And so you have to do that. Once again, his craft, see the ball, hit the ball, but then also to enhance his capabilities.
And are you working hand in hand with his tennis coach?
Absolutely. And I was so blessed there. At first, his coach at first was Nick Bollettieri. Then, of course, right after Nick, it was Brad Gilbert. And wow. you talk about their own. I was so blessed and privileged to work alongside of Nick and then Brad Gilbert and then Darren Cahill. And that's a coaching, in my opinion, that's a coaching Mount Rushmore in itself.
Yeah,
these guys really are great.
And so they're going to say, hey, he needs to lay off today, or
exactly.
we ran him into the ground.
Exactly right. I need to work on this today. And then they would ask me as well. And obviously all of this with Andre there. Andre said, I'm not feeling it. My legs, guys, I need some more leg work. So then Darren or Brad or Nick would say, then I'll just have him work on his serves and returns and not so many points today if you're going to roast his legs in the gym.
Right.
Then there were other days, the closer it came to get on that plane and go to the next tournament, no, now it's ball time. Now you got to ball out. So they would tell me, probably we need to beat up his legs a little less in the gym today.
Right.
Because we're going to roast him on the court.
So back to the asymmetry. How did you deal with that? The fact that he's totally one-sided.
Yeah.
Did you work hard on trying to build up the other side?
Yeah.
Is he right-handed or left-handed?
Yeah, he's right-handed. Yeah. And there are some tennis players who, not many these days, but they're out there, male and female, with one-handed backhands.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, all their lives, they never use their left. They never use, if one-handed backhand, obviously the serve and the forehand. So it's a muscle imbalance that Andre Moore, because he was born with that spondylolisthesis, we had concerns about just quality of life anyway, just the body itself, the skeleton itself. So we would work with great deliberation on just muscle balance. Mm-hmm. You're a little more predisposed, it's my understanding, to just kind of some of those injuries if there's a great muscle imbalance, when one side is, let's say, firing a little more than to the imbalance that is provided by the, let's say, the more submissive side, then you might be asking for trouble. And once again, with Andre, with tennis, if you're coaching a team sport, and this sounds callous, and this is not my belief, fortunately, but if one of your star players gets hurt, well, you go get another one. Yeah. That's just how teams go.
Yeah.
In tennis, when that tennis player is injured, that's end of story.
Right.
For that person. So I went into it with a really great regard for his dream, his talent, but then his will, his work ethic. I had a great regard, and I never lost sight of that. So I was always aware of that I needed to listen to him, but also preach to him the importance of just muscle balance.
Right.
Just, we don't want any crazy, unfortunate pulled muscle out there somewhere just because maybe the front, let's say, quad was much more, was much stronger and more stable than the hamstring and the reverse. So I just became more of a student of that with Andre. And fortunately, we got through the career. He played till he was 36.
What about, tennis elbow is an imbalance. He's using his flexors all the time and never using the extensors. Mm-hmm. Were you doing stuff to prevent that?
We had to. There is a thing called the overuse syndrome, and of course tendinitis and epicondylitis, all those little things that affect the elbow. That's
very common in CrossFitters because there's so much gripping and so much pulling and not much using the use of the extensors.
Yes, so I was very fortunate that because of Andre's name, I was able to call many very, very highly regarded medical professionals, physicians, surgeons, etc., and asked for their guidance.
Right.
I think one of the things that Andre appreciated the most from me was my willingness. I believe that next to the 3 words, I love you, the next most important 3 words between a coach and an athlete is, I don't know. Mm-hmm. We sometimes try to bluff our way through, and even if we don't know, you expect me to know, so I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'll just say, I don't know.
Yeah, my dad always taught me, when you don't know, tell somebody. He said, say, I don't know, and say, but I'll find out for you.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So with Andre, I would call. I did not hesitate to call. And if it's me calling, if I say, hi, my name is Gil Reyes, I click, you hear the phone hang up. So I learned to say, hi, I'm with Andre Agassi. I'm with Andre Agassi. My name is Gil Reyes. Sure. How can we help you? So
it's hilarious.
So I learned
we call those people star fuckers. And, I do not, it's one of my pet peeves, the fact that, I've had one time, trying to get into my own show. Wow. And I'm walking the line. There's a line of people to go in, and a guy puts his arm in front of me. He goes, where do you think you're going? And I go, I'm just going into the show. He goes, stand in line like everyone else. And he didn't know who I was. So I just went, okay. So I went around. I went through the back door and came into the show. And I went on stage. And I look down and I see him. He's looking at me like, and so after the show, he comes up to me, he goes, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" And I went, "No,
that's good.
No, you can't, because you treated me differently before. I treat everybody equally." I hate that, but I know you got to do it. So you'd call these doctors and
sure.
And what was one of because again, it's a huge problem out there. I actually cracked my elbow from having too much tendonitis and the overuse and. What kind of stuff would you do for it?
Well, in my case, it had to be more preventive because once again, we had people, fortunately for Andre, on our team that would handle, if anything did happen, they would handle the treatments. It's how to treat and alleviate or remedy the problem. In my case, hopefully, was most of the emphasis was on preventive. So we would, for example, do stretching, flexibility on the joints, just keep them nice and loose, but also keep them strong and making sure with the antagonistic principle that for every push we did a pull, for everything went up, we went down, and if we went left, we went right. Just keep the body as balanced as possible, and keeping him strong and flexible, I truly believe helped out. His major issue the whole career was something he was born with, and that spondylo. That's
something to really overcome. That's phenomenal.
His doctors, those with whom I spoke, said that they were very surprised that he played into his early 20s, 23, 24, and he played till he was 36.
How's he feeling now?
Yeah, well, he's one of those individuals that when you look at him, he looks like he could still play.
Yeah.
I see him. He takes good care of himself. And you just kind of feel, especially if every now and then one of our athletes is out there and Andre will pick up a racket to just kind of talk to them a little bit about their stroke. It just lights up my heart when I see him because some good memories that we went through many roads together to get here, and he just has it. But he's doing well. He's he had the back issue all along, had that taken care of, and so life is good in the Agassi universe. Anymore? Not very often.
Really?
No, not very often. He spent so much time, as most people know. He's a man who goes out there and tries to help people with schools and his charities, his foundations, his schools. People ask me, and forgive me, I'm going to throw something in here where there was a book that I read a long time ago, and people ask me so much about my relationship with Andre still. I'm godfather to both of his kids, and no secret, I love Andre so much and his family.
You're mentioning his one kid's a phenomenal baseball player.
Yes, Jaden. He's once again, they're athletes. That family, their daughter.
Is he a pitcher?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And he committed to play at USC.
Right.
He's a junior in high school at the moment. But to see Andre as a dad now, and to see the goodness that I know for a fact, I would tell Andre all the time, others get to talk about your greatness. They get to. Somebody please ask me about your goodness, because he's a good man. And there was this book I read a long time ago, and it's by Jeffrey Marks is the author, and it's called A Season in Life. And he tells the story. I've used it many times, and I always give him his credit. There was this high school football coach, and at the start of the season, right as the season was about to start, as you know, the booster clubs all have their little fundraisers to try to car washes and bake sales, raise a little money for the team. And so it was at the boosters club event, and one of the people in the audience asked the coach, "How good is this year's team going to be?" And the coach says, "We won't know that for 10 years when we see what they do when they leave here."
Oh, wow.
Man, and that's always stayed with me. So with Andre, I love hearing people talk about his greatness, but I still say, do you know what he does for people? Do you know the lives that he has changed because of every day in the gym led him to success that gave him a platform?
Yeah.
So now we look back and say, every rep you did in here, every run up that mountain, every bench press, every lap that you took on here led to this.
Wow.
It got you here.
It's a really good point.
When you see what he's done, the young people that he has put through school, paid for their education, helped their lives tremendously, changed their lives. I'm always reminded of that when they say, we won't know how good this year's team's going to be for 10 years when we see what they do when they leave here.
Wow.
I love that.
That's awesome. That is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Him as a, another athlete, let's say you put him in another sport, would he have been the best?
I always said, man, he should have been a defensive back.
Really?
Always. Yeah, I said those quick hips of his, and the way he sees the ball, the way he anticipates. I said, you'd be a good cornerback, man.
Yeah. So, and he's got the size for it. He's perfect size for a cornerback. Was it? I mean, he was so into tennis. There was no other sports he was doing. Yeah, I mean, that was like he was locked and loaded for one sport.
Yeah, and people think when I use the word destiny, people think destiny is luck. No, sometimes people are made for. You're just kind of made for.
But
that.
did he have an engine that, like, a lot of times you can take an athlete and you go, hey, if we removed him from this, let's say we made him a sprinter or a 10K runner or swim, something, soccer or something, like you said, cornerback. Was there something like he had an attribute, be it strength or be it speed or be it like, if you said, hey, I'm just going to throw him into this track meet, would Andre have run a 100-meter dash faster than anybody? Or would you, because that bench press is pretty impressive for a tennis player.
It is.
Or like, let's say you put him out there, because I used to see it every once in a while. You'd go run this fun 10K run, and you have some soccer player that comes in and dusts everywhere. I saw it one time. It was a weird thing. I was an ocean lifeguard, and we used to have lifeguarding competitions where we do run, rowing, paddleboard, swims. And so we had a national champion swimmer, breaststroke, national champion. We had a guy that was another incredible collegiate swimmer, water polo player. And these guys were always neck and neck in the competitions. And then this other patrol had an Olympian. And so these three guys were always like top three. And one day we're watching the swim, and we're waiting to see who's going to come out of the waves first, because they still have to run in. And, there were like 30 guys out there racing. And this surfer dude comes out of the water ahead of everyone. And his name was Shane Purdy. And everyone's like, did Shane miss a buoy? Like, did he just cheat? And he comes, and he was even surprised. And he looks back, and these like collegiate swimmers are, right behind him. And we're like, go, Shane, go. And he comes running in, and we're like, what? How did you just smash the? And it was just, years and years of paddling and being a natural swimmer.
This.
So I'm curious, like someone like Andre, was he like? Would you go, hey, if I threw him into this like 5K run, he'd dust everybody? Oh, did he have that?
With so many of these great athletes, when I look at let's say Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, obviously the legends now, guys like Andy Murray and guys like that. The first thing that comes to my mind is a great appreciation for their athletic talent, ability, the physical. But when I watch CrossFit on television, the minds that these human beings have. So everything I would say, let's say Andre, if the mental component was important, put them in. Because they all have something mental that's special about them. And when I watch CrossFit on television, I just say, these are extraordinary humans.
They're good at suffering.
Yeah. It's just something that, so each champion.
Tommy Hackenbrook, who lives here, who came in second in the games one year, said to me, just in an interview, he mentioned that the guy that's winning worked harder than everyone else.
Wow.
He said the guy that's winning put in more time and more work in CrossFit. CrossFit might not be like a sport where, it's all about peaking and pacing and overtraining. CrossFit is, how much pain can you endure? And did you build a tolerance to that pain more than anyone else? And the guy that's out there has redlined it harder than anyone. So it's, it's not like other sports, but it is. There's a lot of science to it, a lot of programming, a lot of, the science of it, but it's how much can you suffer? Those guys suffer.
And there are special people amongst us. They're out there. And every now and then in our universe, we get to cross paths with them and interact and see them. There are special humans out there. The human mind is such a beautiful weapon.
So come on, you've been all over the world with this. You've got to have some crazy stories.
Oh, many. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the funniest thing that's ever happened?
Well, give me a little bit of a
context?
Yeah, something, because there's
I just imagine. How many years did you guys travel around the world?
Oh, yeah, I started with Andre when he was a teenager.
So
and
you
retired
were with
at
them
36.
in the low years, and then
absolutely.
the comeback.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. And just saw it all. And once again, the stories with Andre, for every funny story, there's so much poignant moments,
right.
So many poignant moments of the guy just showing his character, who he is, seeing his goodness early. But yeah, so there's so many stories, Andre stories. One will come here to me in a second, and I'll try to keep it brief. But yeah, when you get to see him, keep in mind when you're on the road, it's just you guys. Yeah. It's just you guys on the road. And when you're in foreign countries, tennis is a year-round sport.
Right.
And all you know is one thing. Next week, you're going to be somewhere else. And so you kind of really get to know each other, trust each other. And ideally, when you're hurting a little bit, that's the person you can sit with and confide and just kind of, hey man, I'm not feeling.
So when you traveled, your entourage, how many of you were there?
For the most part, it was just Andre, myself, and Darren as his coach, or Brad before that, or Nick, and then a hitting partner perhaps, and that was it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It was a hitting partner. What a job!
Yeah,
what a job!
It really was.
Get over there. I'm going to hit the ball to you. Hit it back to me.
Yeah,
and you have to be pretty top notch too.
Yeah, you better get that ball back. Yeah, because one thing he needs is that ball's got to come back.
And so is that guy like his best friend or?
Well, and Andre didn't. Once again, for the most part, it was a guy who was really, really good that could get out there and compete. Because obviously, when you're going to play against the Federers and people like that,
you got to be
a hitting partner's not going to do that moment justice, but you just need to get your timing back.
Right.
So, and then sometimes the agent would travel as well, but the entourage,
it's like 3 or 4 of you.
Yeah, the entourage was small, so you kind of get to know each other. You check in the movies, check into the movies, what's going on at the movies, or go somewhere.
Because as an athlete, there's downtime too, a lot of downtime.
Sure. And the Grand Slams, you play every other day.
Back in those days, was he worried about his diet?
Yeah, and you know what I've learned, to answer your question, yes, Eddie, but what I also learned from Andre is there's a big difference between nutrition and energy. Mm-hmm. A really good salad, you can't argue, boy, it's nutritious.
Right.
But is it the energy that you want right before your potentially 5-hour match? Yeah,
but we also didn't have the knowledge back then that we have now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I looked at the training table that I used to go to, and I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't need any of that now.
Yeah.
But it's in their mind, it was like, hey, shove this pasta in your face and get as much of it as you can. And here's some Jell-O and some pudding and some, whatever, they were just like calorie, get those calories in you so you have energy, and we're going to run them out of you. Mm-hmm. But, now they're so strategic about it. And I just wonder, like back then, you hear the crazy stories of some guys, and they just go eat 4 steaks the night before.
Yeah, and all of that has changed. Even now, when I look at the coaches working with the younger athletes now, you said it a while ago as well, which really resonated with me also, is when you go out and perform, at least 50% of the dynamic is the audience, right? As to where you are and who they are. Well, same with the coaching now is, are we coaching a different kid? Are we coaching a different mind these days than, let's say, even in the 90s when, let's say, our main years with Andre, because he played through 2006.
Back when they were tough. Now they're these millennial pussies that you can't yell at them. They'll tell you that they're triggered.
And you know what I would like to do sometime is I really would like to ask the coaches now that are with the younger players if indeed that is a consideration or a dynamic at play in their coaching, because I don't know if you're coaching a different mind.
I know in football, for example, Jeremy Tooman, who's been on the show, who was a Pittsburgh Steeler, who now he's a CrossFit coach, and he also coaches his kids' football teams. And with the impact and the helmet or the head injuries, it's, if a kid says, I just hit my head, they go, you're out for the next game.
Yeah.
Like they pull them out, and there's so many times they have to stop practice to drink and do this and do that, where it just used to be like, shut up and get back in there.
Exactly. Yeah. And when in my days, so many centuries ago in high school, was they would not let you drink water to make you tough.
Yeah.
And you're out there in the heat and say, no, we're going to toughen you up. So you couldn't go get it.
So I wonder, saying that, like, I think we'd agree on this, that I wonder if with all the progression, are they getting better? But they're with gaining that, but they're also losing that mental toughness and that push and that drive that they had when they didn't have anything and they were being tortured. Yeah.
So you just inspired me to. That's my next quest, is to perhaps interact more.
Yeah.
And if sometimes some of your listeners could just kind of school me on that, on what is going on out there. What is the younger mind a different mind?
Yeah, let us know. You can message us. Let us know. I mean, write. I love when people write in and I read all the comments and everything. Please. So go to wadcastpodcast@yahoo.com. I'll forward them on to you. Or do you have an Instagram or?
I don't do any social media. Even then,
that's why you're great. That's why you're great.
But even then,
I love you even more now.
Even my dinosaur question, because I have not done 1 second of social media.
I don't think anybody's really done that research. I mean, I think that's a really good metric of. We know that they've progressed as far as nutrition, physicality, preparedness, everything, because science and time have allowed that to happen. But where are they mentally?
Yeah, and I'm not out there, so I would love to know that. It would be a great education for me.
I've just anecdotally, I've heard from friends that are coaches or a high school principal. I had a friend that is a high school principal, and he said to me, look, I'd never hit my kids. I was spanked as a kid. All my friends were spanked. Everyone I know was spanked. It was a generation.
Sure.
And he said, I would never hit my kid ever. He goes, but I'm telling you, he goes, we're raising a culture of pussies. He said, these kids, he's like, they need it. He goes, they've never had that threat of, and I said, well, I don't know. I'm not a believer in that and violence. And he said, yeah, but you don't understand. He goes, you always had that threat of violence over you. Like, you knew consequences. This generation doesn't know consequences. And look, it's going to be a liberal conservative argument. You're going to hear from both sides, and some are going to say, oh, well, this is why, and I'm not going to get into that argument because I'm not going to take a side on it. I know what I do. However, I can see both sides of it. Look, did I like it that it happened? Of course not. Do I feel like it made me part of who I am? Yes. Maybe would I be different? Maybe for the best, better. I was a pretty aggressive kid. I would like to fight a lot, probably because I got, when I went home and I got whooped for, doing what I did. So maybe I wouldn't be so like aggressive and tough, but maybe I'd be more successful and better because I would have been able to deal with it. You never know. It's just who you are and what you are.
And even right now, you mentioned a good point, because I'm not out there, so I don't know. So you're right. I'm not necessarily that's the best way, the worst way. I sure don't know. But I would be curious from your listeners, are they, those that are out there, let's say, as the coaches now, can they at least to this point discern that it is maybe not better or worse than from their youth, but is it definitely different?
Yeah.
Is it a different mind? And if so,
my guess would be yes.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
But I don't, I'm saying that not statistically. I'm saying that
has the instantaneous, let's say, gratification of everyone has a phone, meaning that's email, YouTube, everything is on there, podcast, everything is on there. Does your verbalization of task or method or technique pale or in comparison to what they're accustomed to? Do they want something more entertaining in how they are schooled or instructed? And of course, I don't have the answer to that.
I've heard a lot of coaches in all sports and strength conditioning and everything really, I think the majority of the population does not like social media. They use it, but I don't think people like. Everyone I know hates it. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's like a necessary evil that I don't like at all. I wish it would go away. I don't want any part of it.
Wow.
Do I use it? Yes, absolutely. It's like when I eat junk food. I don't like when I eat junk food, but I can't stop myself. Yeah, sure. When I scroll through Instagram, I'm like, why am I doing this? I hate this. Most coaches I've heard, they treat it like it's the enemy, because it becomes, that is the marker that they're going for. How many people are going to see me on this? I just see it with aspiring college football players that are editing their videos to go up on here so that they can have recruiters see them, and presenting it in a way that, I've been through this my whole life being an entertainer. And, that's what we do. You make this facade that you present yourself. Now it's leaked into sports, where you might not be the best athlete, but wow, you look good on Instagram, and you're getting a college scholarship offer now from somewhere. So kids are catering rather than going out and trying to win the game and doing, like Buddhism always says, it's about the intention, not the outcome. Like, what is your intention? Your intention should be good, and the outcome will be good. Don't worry about the outcome. Whereas I think our whole society is more outcome oriented. How many people downloaded this? How many people viewed this? How much did I get? What did I, instead of, I just want to go win. I want to get out there and play and win this game. And those are the real athletes. Those are the real winners. But sometimes they get pushed down by the people that are the flamboyant, are the ones. I see it in my profession all the time. These people that they suck. I have so many shitty comedians out there that are just really good at gimmicks and really good at social media, and they're selling tons of tickets because people go to their show and they're like, it's not that funny. Well, no, of course, because they're spending all their time doing this bullshit instead of writing jokes and being funny. So I think that goes on in sports. I think every aspect of life, probably everything. You probably see it in your, strength and conditioning coaches.
There's just a lot to learn there. And once again, I'm going to leave. One of my big takeaways today is, learn a little more about what the dynamic is these days between coach and athlete.
Yeah. And the younger, it's great athletes. That you're still, you've been at this so long, you've done so much, and you're still wanting to learn and move. Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute honor. This was so cool to come out to your facility, see this, all your accomplishments, incredible. I can't thank you enough for giving me your time.
Thank you, Eddie. I'm
like looking around. I see you got some Vegemite here. Is that for the Australian guy that was just
that's
here?
One of those bar bets gone bad. Yeah.
So I'm sure you've eaten some strange things all over the world. This is great. And I guess they can find you. You can look them up, check out all the stuff online. There are videos and stuff of you to find out, but you're not a social media guy. And you do you still do the Adidas program?
No,
okay, you don't do that anymore.
Just up here, like I say, it's kind of a really great situation here. We're in the process with Andre and Steffi. We're in the process right now. We train athletes, as you see, that come through here, and it's all done kind of on a personal contact basis.
Okay, so it's pretty tough to get in here.
Yeah. We have some, most of them are professional athletes, and they come in here and do some training with us. And I have still obviously very much the honor and privilege of when some of the athletes come through here, I get to call Andre and Steffi and have them come in and say hello to our athletes.
Oh, wow, that'd be great.
Once again, one thing you look at when you see a Steffi graph or an Andre Agassi is champion. Who are they? Why? And how did they become champions? What was their mindset? And everything comes back to what you just said, Eddie. Just preparation, man.
Yeah.
Just preparation. You're either ready or you're not.
I could start a whole new podcast. I don't want to, but quick question. Did you also work with Steffi at all?
No, she was around? Yes. And when she had stopped competing, when she came into our lives so beautifully was literally when she had just retired. So, but I obviously see her in here often, but competitively, no. And that in itself would be, with Andre, I learned so much. I taught him maybe 10% and learned 90% from Andre. And with Steffi, I'm sure it'd be the same. We're just what makes you a champion, and just our task and our privilege becomes just learn and understand. And then your job becomes pretty
So is it all tennis players that are coming through here?
No, there's a young man who plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers right now who's off to a good start. Okay. Alex Verdugo spent his whole off season here with me. Right after the World Series, he was here, and he left 2 days before spring training. He was here the whole time, worked out here on New Year's Eve. Young, single, good-looking professional athlete in Las Vegas on New Year's Eve, but he worked out that evening here first, and he comes through here. We have professional soccer, and he comes through here, and the tennis players that come through here. So we're really blessed with that, and like I say, it's kind of a nice invite to get if somehow the paths cross with the Andre Agassi, Steffi Graf universe. And Alex is a young 22-year-old guy. He's doing well. He's, I believe, as of this morning, hitting like 356 or something with the Dodgers. And another strong, talented young kid who just kind of needed to figure a few things out and be himself, and then trust me to kind of figure him out. And
well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on everything. Thank you for having me. And our listeners, I'm sure, are going to love this. Thanks for listening to taking the time and listening to the show. If you like what we do, go rate, review, and comment on iTunes, and check out our website, wadcastpodcast.com. There's all the click-throughs for everything there to take care of yourself for health, wellness, strength, conditioning. You get yourself into Thrive Market or U.S. Wellness Meets, and check out all my comedy dates at eddyift.com. I will be, I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm in St. Louis, I'm in Chicago, I'm in Atlanta, I'm in New York, I'm in California. May 19th, big date. Come see me at the Comedy Store in Hollywood. Big show, May 19th. Get your tickets. That will sell out. And back in Las Vegas a couple times. If you want to come out, Gil, and see me, I'll have you as my guest, and you can see me drop some F-bombs, and I
would love that.
I lose my mind on stage. So I'll be at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, so check me out there at the Rio. And Gil, thank you once again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Eddie. Right. I'm honored.
Thank you.